Well, hello there. This is my first screencast. I'm going to cover a couple of the ideas from section 4.1 on population, so it might help you understand from home. I am on page 91 in your textbooks, and I've got the online version up in front here. Might be helpful if you had that up too. Okay, now what I want to go straight to is this first chart down here. It says population growth of houseflies, and what this is, it's called a J curve. Sorry, I'm just trying to maximize its size for us. And by the way, if my head talking to you is anywhere that's blocking something you need to see on your screen, feel free. You can just click on it and pull me around wherever you need to go. Okay, so right here we see a J curve. And a J curve means that you have a population that starts out with a very small number of individuals. And then they very, very slowly start to double themselves and double themselves and double themselves until exponentially the numbers go up. And it looks like the letter J. That's what we call a J curve. But every population at some point is going to level off. We say that it's hit carrying capacity. And there are a few things that cause that to happen, and they're called limiting factors. And maybe you remember that from chapter 3. Limiting factors for any population are going to be things like disease, living space, possible predators, food, and just overall competition from members of your own species. So a J curve at some point will turn into what's called an S curve. So it looks like the letter S here. And this level off occurs at the point where the carrying capacity lies. And it could be high, it could be low. Like for example, an acre of woods the carrying capacity might be 3 deer. If you start taking that away, cutting down the trees, then that's less deer that can be supported by those woods. And so carrying capacity is going to vary from ecosystem to ecosystem. Now, can carrying capacity be changed? Well, humans can change it. Let me scroll down here. We can change our own carrying capacity through technology. If you look at, there we go. This right here, we can lift our carrying capacity by finding new ways to grow food, by developing vaccines for diseases and things like that. If you look at our current population is still in this J curve phase. At some point, we will have to level off regardless of how good our technology is. Now, some organisms do live for a very long time, but they have what's called a slow life history. For example, humpback whales, the mothers are pregnant for well over a year. Blue whales are pregnant for almost 2 years, and they only have 1 calf at a time, and they don't have many offspring during their lifetime. So overhunting of animals like that severely affects their population, and their numbers just can't bounce back very quickly. As opposed to, say, like white-tailed deer in Michigan, or I know these aren't white-tailed deer, these are antelope, or these wild mustard plants. Their numbers rebound very, very quickly. They have a lot at one time. We call that a rapid life history, and that definitely affects their population. Now, organisms are spread out in about 3 different patterns. You have a random pattern, you have a clumped pattern, and then you have what's called a uniform pattern right here. For example, these pine trees here, there is about an equal amount of space between each pine tree, likely because they're drawing nutrients and resources from a diameter around the tree, and nothing else is really able to grow there because the one tree is sucking up all the nutrients. As I scroll down here, we have certain aspects of population that are called density dependent and density independent. A density dependent factor means that organisms that live close together are going to be affected more severely by things such as disease. Diseases will spread more quickly. Density independent factors are going to be factors that affect population regardless of how closely they live together, such as volcanic eruptions, temperatures, storms, floods, droughts, things like that. The availability of food is probably the most important limiting factor. For example, if you look at this chart right here, what we'll see is the lynx and the hare. Now, you'll notice that as the hare numbers go up, the lynx numbers will follow. There's just simply more to eat. As the hare numbers go down, the lynx numbers follow. There's just not enough to eat. So availability of food is the #1 factor affecting population over time. Overcrowding would place stress on the animals, and that would be a density dependent factor. Here we see a cage full of several rats, and of course they're going to be wasting in that cage and contaminating each other's food and making each other sick, and so that's a dense living space. Proximity to one another is definitely a density dependent factor. Okay, that's it for this one. There'll be more.